atWork Australia would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands and pay our respect to elders past and present. This podcast is being recorded in the southwest and Western Australia, which is land of the Noongar people. We'd also like to pay our respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from wherever you may be listening from. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Candid Conversations with Shaun. In this episode, I catch up with Ben, the General Manager for People and Culture from AHS Hospitality. You can really hear Ben's passion and the organisation's passion for creating really inclusive working environments, giving people with disability, injury or health condition a fair opportunity to be able to succeed in the workplace. As always, to find out more information about anything we discuss, please refer to the links in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and have a chat with me today. I really appreciate your time and coming to learn about some of the initiatives and how you've been able to create a really inclusive work environment for atWork Australia clients within your business.
Pleasure to be here.
And so our audience can get to know you a little bit more. Do you mind giving us a bit of background about AHS Hospitality and your role within the business?
Yeah, sure. So AHS Hospitality, we're one of Australia's largest providers of outsourced housekeeping services. We have a workforce of approximately 3,500 people. We work closely with hotels and commercial premises across Australia and New Zealand. My role is General Manager of People and Culture. I've been with the business myself for 7.5 years, and my team and I, we support talent acquisition, generalist HR, workforce planning, training and inclusion initiatives, payroll, pretty much the full HR life cycle within our business. We're a pretty collaborative group of people, always trying to work together so we attract diverse candidates and provide a supportive environment for our employees.
Yeah, sounds like you're a very busy man.
My team is extremely busy.
Yeah, it's good to be busy at work, makes the week go fast. atWork Australia have been partnering with AHS Hospitality over the last 3 years, supporting your team to be able to embrace diversity and inclusion within their recruitment processes. How do you find diversity and inclusion has strengthened your organisation?
Oh, well, they're fundamental in broadening our talent pool and bringing in fresh perspectives. And that's not only head office, that's also for our frontline team as well. Helps, strengthen team collaboration, empathy, resilience. We're partnering obviously with atWork. It's allowed us to connect with talented individuals that we may not have otherwise reached, which overall enhances our workforce.
And I know since this partnership has begun, your team's now employed more than 100 atWork Australia clients. Are you able to give us any examples of how you've been able to tailor the recruitment process to give an atWork Australia client a fair opportunity within the recruitment process?
Sure. So overall, we've simplified our application process. We offer support within our interviews as well. We've worked closely with atWork consultants to understand what the candidate's strengths are. We focus more on attitude and willingness to learn than previous experience, which overall allows for a fairer assessment of potential. But typically speaking, when people come for interviews, they're anxious, they're nervous.
Yeah.
So we try to make the process as relaxed as possible and as natural as possible, whereby you're effectively having a conversation with somebody or just giving them information about your business. So we give them information obviously about AHS Hospitality. And then from there in the conversation, we're drawing the information from the person that we need to make an assessment in regards to fit.
Yeah, I mean, an interview can be a very daunting process for everyone. So someone who might experience mental health or have a bit of anxiety, it just doesn't create an environment where they can really showcase their best skills.
Exactly. And that's the reason why we're always trying to get feedback, not only from the candidates that actually come to our interviews, but also the consultants as well, is what can we do better? We think that we have a fantastic process and everyone's all rosy, but there might be some aspects where we just need to tweak a few things to, again, make it more inclusive and to give everyone a fair chance, a fair chance of representing themselves.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a constant evaluation of the process, because as soon as you stop evaluating what you're doing, you get complacent and you're not always looking for ways to innovate and look for improvements.
Well, when you look at it from an internal perspective, you think that you have a fantastic process, because you created it. And then somebody comes in with a fresh perspective, new ideas, and goes, have you thought about doing it this way? And it's only at that moment, we take that feedback on board and we try and figure out how can we make this work.
Can you give us any examples of that? You think your process is pretty straightforward and inclusive, and then Sometimes it
Sure.
might just take tweaking something so simple to go, why didn't I think of that earlier?
Well, we do it primarily in our training. So we've got, and I might speak to this a little bit later, but a buddy system whereby we show people, the ropes, so to speak, how to service a room. And we have printed off guides on how to service a room. And then we came to the realization through feedback that some people don't learn through reading or writing. They might have a barrier in that respect. So we created videos that we can give to our team members so they can actually look at it in their own time and go, well, this is how you service a room. This is how you make a bed. But it was only through feedback that we received off people that we decided to implement that change.
Yeah, right. Like you say, it's quite simple, and everyone uses technology these days with their smart devices, so
Hmm.
it'd be quite. They can even carry those videos with them for quick updates if they need to.
Well, they're part of our onboarding.
Yeah.
So the person can literally reference that video whenever they would like to.
And have you had to implement any workplace adjustments to support any of your new employees?
Yeah, there's several cases of that. We do things like providing flexible start times. We have buddy systems. We have simplified training materials. We also, depending on the circumstances as well, will have regular check-ins of certain people just to make sure that, again, we're getting that feedback from our new starters, making sure that our onboarding and training is done the way that we would hope it would be done, that the person has been trained up to a satisfactory standard that they're comfortable with. Overall, our goal is to create an environment where every employee feels supported and is able to succeed. So, when people commence, the training's provided face to face. We have our processes documented, like I said. Then we have our videos. People learn in different ways, so it's our opportunity to give everyone the best chance to learn. We've
Yeah, yeah.
also recently implemented pre-employment programs. So, a mixture of classroom theory and practical work experience, where it's giving people another chance or another opportunity to learn prior to entering our workforce.
And that sort of leads into my next question. I know you that AHS Hospitality have been hosting fortnightly recruitment sessions with atWork Australia clients. Can you talk us through a bit about this process, what clients can expect to take away, and the benefits behind this initiative?
Yeah, sure. We look at it as giving the clients insights to who we are, what roles we offer, what support is available for them as well. The sessions help demystify our recruitment process and also build confidence. As we were saying before, the anxiety of coming actually to an interview can be there for pretty much everybody. We've found that those sessions reduce anxiety for job seekers and improve hiring outcomes and alignment as well from the start. So everybody knows what's expected of each other, and again, everything is visible and fair.
And I mean, from those recruitment sessions, can people be hired from those sessions, or do they have to go through an interview up post to those recruitment sessions?
Yes, we do hire people from those information sessions. That's effectively our interview. We're providing the information to people. And again, we're asking questions at the same time. A lot of our roles, it's attitude, it's reliability, somebody's willingness to learn. If they tick those boxes for us, we're more than happy to give them an opportunity.
Yes, we hear that quite often that it's the attitude's more important than the experience. If a person's coming there willing and ready to work, then they can be taught the skills they need to be able to be successful within that workplace.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Are you able to give us any examples of where you've been able to modify one of your roles to be more inclusive and more suitable for an atWork Australia client?
Yeah, sure. We've adjusted roles previously by allowing shorter shift lengths, depending on, the conversations we have with certain people and what adjustments we need to make. Sometimes it's shorter shift lengths, sometimes it's shorter shifts per week. We've also had modified physical tasks as well, depending on people's capabilities. So we can chop and change certain responsibilities in a position. We have also offered additional training to people as well, additional training time. One actual good example is a team member with cognitive disability who initially struggled remembering tasks. And what we did was we were happy to consolidate their exact responsibilities each morning at our daily briefing. In the morning, for example, we get all the team members together. We allocate out tasks. For this particular person, we're able to consolidate that on a sheet so they knew exactly what was requested of them, what was required of them. Once we did that, we saw that they were quite confident. They worked independently, did a fantastic job, and ultimately we've set them up for success. They're a reliable team member that's happy and comfortable coming into work. And from our perspective, we look at it and go, well, we've got a team member that's engaged.
Yeah. And would that person then be able to do those same tasks for each shift?
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
could potentially come in, get comfortable, gain their experience doing those tasks, and then eventually they can progress and take on more responsibilities as they gain experience.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I've got examples of that as well, where we've started off slowly, built up over time, and then we've had people come through JSAs that are now leading teams within our hotels.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Are you able to speak more about or give any more examples of those success stories where people have come in and I guess you've really transformed their lives with these opportunities and by gaining employment, like you say, they've sort of come in at the grassroots and now they're sort of leading bigger teams. Are you able to share any more success stories like that?
I've got some success stories, certainly. A couple spring to mind. I've got, we have a single mother. She has 3 children, also has difficulties reading and writing. And she came through one of our pre-employment programs in October last year and is still with us. Now, typically new starters struggle with bed making. However, this employee learnt very quickly in this aspect and has been making exceptional beds ever since, to the point where we're actually receiving photos of her work. Now, she has built up her skill sets over time in certain elements. Now she's able to do the full gamut of role responsibilities. And she's also advised us that she's now undertaking language and literacy classes to help her in her spare time. Now she's hoping to, at the moment, she's actually training new employees, so she's up to that stage, and she has ambitions of becoming a supervisor. And we're more than happy to help her and facilitate her in that journey.
Yeah. And from what I just picked up as well, there's obviously a language barrier as well. So how do you change the way you communicate with this employee? Is that where your videos really come in handy, where you can demonstrate the things that needs to be done by showing that content?
That's exactly right. So that was one of our key drivers of creating the videos, is the language barrier. We also have a very diverse workforce in terms of cultures. So we at one stage had 130 different nationalities working for AHS, which is obviously a lot of languages.
Wow.
And if we can pinpoint, somebody, what will help somebody succeed, then we can provide that support to the person in the workplace.
How has embracing diversity and inclusion impacted the culture and the morale within your workplace?
Overall, it's created a more compassionate and united workforce. Our team members appreciate the value of different perspectives and experiences. We've got a good culture of respect, patience, and inclusivity as well within our workforce.
And I know you lead the HR component of the business, but is diversity and inclusion embraced broadly throughout the organisation? It sounds like it's ingrained within the business's values.
I am extremely fortunate to work for a business that values diversity. Actually, our parent company, RGF Staffing, has a program called RGF Connect, and their purpose is bridging opportunities for all. So through this global program, they aim to enhance employee engagement, showcase our commitment to supporting individuals who are at distance to the labour market. And it's our way of demonstrating corporate and social responsibility. So it's from the top in our business, and it's an expectation.
Yeah, I think that's when initiatives like this are driven from the top, that's when they are successful. You definitely need buy-in from all levels of the business, from senior management down to middle management down to the frontline management and the frontline staff as well.
Exactly right.
And what would your advice be to other organisations who might be hesitant to employ a person who is living with disability, injury, or health condition?
I'd say start with an open mind. Focus on strengths rather than limitations. Support is there if you need it from an employer perspective. Where again, we engage the atWork consultants all the time in regards to what we can be doing better. We have quarterly meetings, that sort of stuff. Often small adjustments can have a massive impact on the individual and also your business. The employees that we do have that come through the job network, they're loyal, they're motivated, they bring a great attitude. And for that, we're appreciative of them.
Yeah. And has there been any situations that have been really surprising where you thought, oh, I don't know how we're going to be able to support this person, but then, by knuckling down, really thinking about it, you've been able to come up with a really great outcome?
Nothing springs to mind, but having said that, we're a business that when we look at any obstacle or barrier, whatever you would wish to call it, we try and find a solution. Again, if we have a person that has the right attitude and the right makeup, we can make it work. We'll look at what adjustments we need to make. We'll look at whether the site's the right place for them, whether the manager is the right person for them, and then how can we accommodate that? It's about what we can do, not what we can't.
And just to finish off now, Ben, what's your number one tip for making the recruitment process more inclusive?
Ensure your recruitment process is accessible and flexible. You need to have those accommodations. You need to be able to use plain language in your job ads, be open to having a non-traditional recruitment experience, to say the least. You need to be engaging with employment partners who understand the diverse needs of candidates.
And I think it's really important to just to have an open mind and don't make assumptions about other people's capabilities. I think a lot of people hear the word disability and sometimes automatically rule people out because of their own assumptions of what people can achieve. By having an open mind, then you're really removing the barriers for the person.
Exactly. You need to ask questions. Instead of having those assumptions, you need to ask questions. So those assumptions are gone. Then you're just left with, what do you need to do here and what flexible accommodations can we make? And again, how can we work for everybody?
Yeah. Well, Ben, thank you very much for taking the time to come and have a chat with me today. I really appreciate learning a bit more about AHS Hospitality and hearing the passion about trying to make a diverse and inclusive workplace.
Fantastic. I appreciate your time, Shaun.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode. I hope you really enjoyed my conversation with Ben and you were able to take away a few tips on how to create a more inclusive recruitment strategy and create more opportunities for people who live with disability, injury or health conditions.